Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. I'm bringing you guys a tutorial today showing you guys how to use the synchronizing method in Pokemon Sun and Moon to catch not only great competitive Pokemon, but potentially competitive shiny Pokemon as well, and how you can influence the nature on the wild Pokemon that you're catching, including legendaries and kind of everything in between. So I'm gonna be going through the number of different steps on how to use a synchronizer, how to find a synchronizer, how you can use them in SOS, which is a little bit tricky, and everything in between. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Hit that like button if it helps you out, and subscribe if you're new for more Pokemon content, of course. So first things first, I'm going to show you guys kind of an example of how I prepared for synchronizing here and just kind of the end results of that. You can see I have my synchro box here. I went and caught just a bunch of Abras of different natures. Once you catch one, you could essentially breed it with a box of Dittos though, which I have a box of Dittos somewhere, and you could breed it with Dittos if you're familiar with that. But otherwise, you just want to catch synchronizers. You only really need one for the most part if you're going to do SOS, but for anything else, you'll need multiple. That's why I have so many of them. And this is my main one here, is my big Alakazam right here, modest nature. I guess someone traded this one to me, I don't even know, but there's a modest Alakazam. But here's kind of the fruits of the labor, right? We have a modest shiny Vikavolt, which is the proper nature for competitive, and I also have a calm shiny Arcanine here, both of these that I were able to catch through the SOS method, get them legitimately. And if you don't want to breed for competitive shinies, you can do this, which can tend to be a little bit easier. And also, just to show you guys like how synchronizing works as well, you can get some really cool competitive legendaries and stuff too. So I can show you, like, I have my timid Tapu Koko, my timid Hidden Power Ice Nihilego. All of these are legitimate Pokemon that I've caught myself. Adamant Tapu Bulu, and most of these, here's a bold Tapu Fini, I have a timid Tapu Lele. So all these different Tapus and legendaries that I was able to get, and it doesn't take long at all, really. Usually within just a few encounters, you can find these Pokemon and the right nature that you want. So first things first, let me show you guys where to find your synchronizers. So let me cut to get to that point. So here we are in Hau'oli City, right at the Pokemon Center, and the easiest way to find synchronizers in this game and just get a bunch of them is to go in this patch of grass right here, because you'll actually be able to find Abras. Abras are pretty easy to catch. You just throw a quick ball most of the time, you can catch them. Otherwise, just put them to sleep, throw like a great ball or something. You'll catch them pretty easily. Obviously, they do have teleport, but these Abras are going to be the key to using Synchronize, because Synchronize does give you a 50% chance to work on wild Pokemon to ensure that you get the proper nature that you're looking for. Now, keep in mind, there are other Synchronizers, a lot of Psychic types. Espeon and Umbreon both have Synchronize, and probably the best Synchronizers that you can have is Mew, because Mew also learns the move Full Swipe, which is obviously very crucial when using the SOS method. But for the purposes of this, if you can't get a Mew, and all the other ones are a little harder to get, Abracadabra, Alakazam are definitely the easiest bet to get started. So just run around this patch of grass, catch a Synchronizer. Feel free to catch as many as you want. It really depends. If you're doing SOS, you only need one, but if you're doing, soft resets for legendaries and stuff, you'll have to get the specific natures. But let's show you guys a little bit about how this works for when you're doing wild encounters. So let's say I want to run in the grass right now and find a specific nature Pokemon. I'm gonna lead in my party with my Alakazam or my Abracadabra, whatever my Synchronizers is, and you can see that this is a modest nature Alakazam, which means that any wild Pokemon I encounter right now will have a 50% chance to be modest nature. Now, again, it's 50%, so that means you can catch 4 or 5 in a row and not get modest. That doesn't mean it doesn't work, but you're kind of dealing with the odds here. So we have a 50% chance for this Picky Peck to be a modest nature. So let's catch it and find out what it's gonna be. Alright guys, it took me a few tries, but we finally got our modest nature Pokemon. 3 tries. As you could see, I had a Leddyba, I had a Picky Peck that was naive nature, a Leddyba that was rash, and a Caterpie that was modest. So again, it is 50% chance for that Synchronizer to work based on our Alakazam. One other thing I wanted to show you guys is I had my Alakazam in the front of my party at full health, and I just switched them. Now I have a bold nature Abra in the front of my party, but it's fainted. Now, even though our Abra here is fainted, it still will have the same synchronizing properties when random encountering Pokemon, as long as it is in the first slot of your party. So basically, when you're random encountering for Pokemon, the Synchronizer needs to be in the first slot of your party. It can be fainted or it can be alive. It does not matter, as long as you have a Synchronizer in the front of your party. When you random encounter, when you soft reset for legendaries, when you soft reset for type null, and when you go for event Pokemon, these Synchronizers will all work the same as long as they are in the front of your party, whether they are fainted or or not. So I'll save us some time. I'm not going to show you an example, but say you want to go for Tapu Koko and you want a modest nature Tapu Koko. Your Alakazam needs to be in the front of your party, or your Abra, whatever it may be, with the modest nature, but it does not have to be alive. It can be fainted. You can save the game before you encounter the Tapu Koko. You encounter the Tapu Koko and catch it, and you'll have a 50% chance for that nature to pass down. Now, the thing that really confuses people with synchronizing, because this has been the same, everything I just taught you has been the same for the last couple of generations, but synchronizing with the SOS method or call-in method is a little bit more complicated. So let me heal my Pokemon up and we'll start to explain that. But what you're gonna need is only one Abracadabra Alakazam. This is where it gets a little bit easier. I think they kind of abbreviated this to save people time so you wouldn't have to go and catch a bunch of different Abras, but you really only need one Pokemon. I'm gonna show you exactly why in just a moment. Alright, so the way SOS synchronizing works is pretty simple, but a little bit weird and might throw you off a little bit. The synchronizing mechanic with SOS requires you to have your synchronizer on the field in battle when the Pokemon is called in for help in order for it to synchronize. But it doesn't necessarily synchronize the nature of the Pokemon that's in battle, but rather it'll synchronize the nature of the first Pokemon in your party. So the easiest way to go about this is to simply send in the nature that you want of Pokemon when the battle begins, switch out to your full swiping Pokemon, false swipe, and then switch to your synchronizer and use your synchronizer for the remainder of the battle. Now you can also pair this up with my harvest tutorial, which I'll have in the description below, and everything in between. So I'm gonna use this Pikipek we just caught, which was not the nature we wanted, but nevertheless it'll work for this demonstration. And we have a naive nature Pikipek. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna enter any battle. It doesn't matter. Let's say I'm looking to get a shiny. We'll find out what we're gonna find here. Whatever this is what I want. I'm gonna get a shiny. Let's see. It is gonna be a shiny Rattata. This is what I want. I want a shiny, naive Rattata for whatever reason it's gonna be. So I'm gonna send out my naive Pokemon. It can be any Pokemon you have with whatever nature you want. Doesn't have to be a synchronizer. It can be whatever you want. If you happen to have a naive synchronizer, you can do that too. It makes no difference. Whatever the nature of the first Pokemon in your party is gonna be when you start the battle, that is gonna be what it synchronizes based off of. So I have my Pikipek out here. Perfect, good to go. I'm gonna switch out to my full swiper. This is where having Mew is useful because Mew can full swipe and synchronize at the same time, so it kind of does double duty of what Alakazam would do. I don't have a Mew yet, unfortunately, but nevertheless. So I'm gonna full swipe this Rattata as we normally would do. Bring him down to low health, and he's gonna call in for help. Now, if he calls in a Pokemon right now, this Pokemon will not be synchronized. It will not be affected by our synchronizing. What I need to do now is my synchronizer needs to be on the field. Actually, this is kind of a really terrible example because I have no way to feint the Rattatas, but maybe we can make it work. But your synchronizer needs to be on the field for this to work. So now my Alakazam is on the field, and now it is going to be activating the synchronize on that Rattata based on the Pikipek's nature, which is naive. Now, again, this is kind of a terrible example because I have no way to hurt this Rattata, so let me actually get a different Pokemon to try this on because I didn't actually think about that, but let me try again with a different Pokemon. All right, another perfect example. We found a Pikipek here. I can actually attack this one. Here is a Pikipek. Again, my Pikipek leads the battle with its naive nature. I'm gonna go into my Robin Hood here to simply full swipe. Having a Mew would be quite nice right now, but nevertheless, we'll full swipe it down to that 1 HP. We'll use our Adrenaline Orb, we'll switch into our Synchronizer, and then we'll begin the process. Now, a lot of people always ask me, and I'll tell you this now, it doesn't matter if you switch your Synchronizer in or out. You could switch it in, send out your full swipe or whatever, but just know that if that shiny gets called in and your Synchronizer is not on the field, you're gonna lose out on that opportunity to synchronize the proper nature. So like that Pikipek just got called in, and if it was a shiny, it wouldn't have a chance to be synchronized because my Synchronizer was not on the field. That is the key component to SOS synchronizing. You have to have your Synchronizer on the field, and it's gonna synchronize based on the nature of the first Pokemon in your party. Once you kind of get that down, it's really not that complicated. It's just a matter of trying to wrap your head around it. So I'm gonna try to get another Pikipek because I didn't have my Synchronize on the field before. So now my Alakazam is on the field, and any Pikipek that gets called in should have a 50% chance, roughly, to be that naive nature. Now, it doesn't look like we have much success here. I haven't used an Adrenaline Orb yet, so we'll drop one of those down real quick, and this will pretty much guarantee that a Pikipek gets called in. Then I will knock out the other Pikipek, we'll catch the one that gets called in, and we'll see if the Synchronizer worked. Now, again, don't get too discouraged if it doesn't work. I can can tell you I was going for a shiny Grubbin, a shiny modest Grubbin, and it took me like 6 shinies to get the one I wanted, despite the fact that I was synchronizing. But had I not been synchronizing, it could have taken a million. But then the flip side is like I got a shiny Growlithe, and it was the right nature the first time. So you can kind of, you know, it kind of depends. But this definitely saves you a lot of time when it goes to competitive, because I don't know about you guys, but I love shiny hunting for competitive shinies that I can use in battles. But the problem is breeding, hatching shinies can be so incredibly brutal at times. It can be really, really draining and can tend to be just a bit obnoxious. Like it just isn't as fun as I would like. But I like to prefer to do SOS or other methods and stuff like that, because I feel like they're a little bit more engaging and they're a little easier to do, and you don't have to just hatch a bunch of eggs or whatever. So now we've got our Picky Peck here. I'm gonna just throw a Repeat Ball at it. We're gonna keep our fingers crossed that this thing will be naive nature, and we'll pretend it's a shiny essentially. And that's pretty much the gist of it, guys. I mean, that's really the key there. A lot of people seem to get confused, and there was a lot of confusion going into Sun and Moon with the synchronizing, but this is exactly how it works. I promise you. If you simply lead with the nature that you want, and then you have your synchronizer on the field, you'll give yourself that chance. So let's see if this Picky Peck happens to be naive. If it is, great. If not, we'll try again, and I'll try to get some examples just to prove it, but hopefully we'll be good here. So here's our Picky Peck level 3 from this SOS method, and it is going to be rash nature, so not quite the nature we wanted. It's not naive, so we'll try again. I gotta prove it to you guys, so let me try again. We'll see what we can find. Alright guys, so we just caught another Caterpie. You see I had a Picky Peck before. We were looking for a naive nature Caterpie, and we'll see what we got here, and we did get the naive. So it took us 2 tries to get a Pokemon through SOS with naive, but that's exactly how it works, guys, as I just demonstrated. Simply lead the Pokemon nature that you want, like we did with our Picky Peck. You can see our Picky Peck is in the front of our party. That's the Pokemon that begun the SOS battle. Then I had my Alakazam on the field while the Pokemon was being called in, or the shiny was being called in theory, and then you give yourself that 50% chance to get the Synchronize. Hopefully this will lead to you guys getting some amazing competitive shinies with Generation 7 introducing the bottle cap feature to maximize your Pokemon's IVs. Getting competitive shinies is easier now than ever before, so I highly encourage you guys, give it a go. Maybe start with something a little bit easier. Say you want to go for like an adamant Picky Peck, or maybe even a modest Butterfree or timid Butterfree, or you could do what I did and go for that modest Grubbin. But let me know how it goes, guys. My Twitter's in the description. There's a comment section but down below if you think I forgot anything, and definitely hit that like button if you enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this was informative. That's gonna be it for me, guys. My name is Dan. I also go by aDrive, and I'm gonna catch you guys later. Peace.